Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, in particular, to everybody who is, joining this event on making responsible decisions in and about science. Well, you are, I assume, not here because of me, but because of our distinguished guests, which I think I don't need to introduce. And Vlasta and Mike will say a little bit more before the talks come. I will take the opportunity to introduce very shortly the Karl Friedrich von Weizsäcker Center, which is hosting this event, which actually is somehow the starting event of our scientific research program. I don't know whether you have heard about Karl Friedrich von Weizsäcker, who was an eminent German scientist, starting as a theoretical physicist, and then, holding a chair on philosophy. And he was very much involved in the scientific and, let's say, political debate in Germany in the second half of the 20th century. And in particular, he critically questions the societal responsibility of the individual scientists. And that's something we take up in our center, which obviously is named after Karl Friedrich von Weizsäcker. It was founded formally last year with that problem that you cannot really found a center during a pandemic. Still, let's say it was possible to start our activities. So we are located at the University of Tübingen, and unfortunately we cannot welcome you in person in Tübingen, but on the other hand, it's a great advantage that today it's possible to meet via the internet, over all these kind of distances wherever you are sitting at the moment. The center is supported by the Udo Keller Foundation, I should mention, and it's headed by the Karl Friedrich von Weizsäcker Professorship for Philosophy and History of Science. And well, the respective professor is myself, and I'm happy to welcome you here. So about the research we are performing, we are doing at the center, let me just give you some items which characterize what's the objective. And it's all in the spirit of what von Weizsäcker propagated in his work. So first of all, and let's say that is the starting point also for the conference today, it's the responsibility of science, but not of science as such, but in particular of the scientist, as a human being. And this comes often with societal challenges of university research in particular. We are also based at a university, so we should really think of what we are doing here, and not staying locked in our ivory tower. And this goes up to political implications of research outcomes. This was also something which was on top of von Weizsäcker's agenda. Really, let's say, to discuss what kind of research, or what is the impact of research on political decisions. You may know that von Weizsäcker drafted a very influential report of 18 German scientists, which at the end of the day were decisive that the German Bundeswehr was not equipped with nuclear weapons. And that was somehow the historical root of these discussions we try to continue. Well, but as the last item, I also want to mention that we do all these scientific reflection on the base of foundational research, which one should not overlook, what is really on the base of our investigation. And so maybe I can mention here that at the moment we are looking in particular to the implications of research in artificial intelligence, which is enormously popular at the moment, but where people very often simply overlook, I mean, what is on the foundational base. And there's a discussion now going on that, I mean, we have to equip the statistical methods, I mean, with the old branch of artificial intelligence in the sense of expert systems, etc. Another example of research we do, I mean, we will now start a research project on COVID research, and not the research itself, but the question, I mean, how it was communicated, and I mean, what kind of impact that had. And I mean, that was a project drafted at the time when the vaccine was not even finished. And I mean, one of the questions was, okay, I mean, do we maybe promise too much? Well, in the meanwhile, we have the vaccines, but I mean, as you know, I mean, at the moment, there's a huge debate on what is actually the risk of one particular of the available vaccines. And I mean, how is that communicated? And what can you say as a researcher about that? So that should give you an idea of what we do at the Weizsäcker-Center. And I mean, shortly, let's say, where do you find us? Well, of course, we have a website. There is a YouTube channel where we provide the talks given here, and maybe even some links to other interesting talks which were taped. And I mean, it is the idea that also this conference or this small workshop will be represented there. We are now on Facebook and Twitter as the modern social media. And I mean, even that could be a topic to be discussed, how responsible it is to communicate science on social media. I mean, you find yourself very fast in a certain bubble and so on. But okay, last not least, it is not just a virtual center. So if you would be in Tübingen in person, you are supposed to find us at Keplerstraße, which is, I mean, downtown Tübingen. Nevertheless, that it's such a small town that downtown doesn't even apply as a general concept, I would say. Okay, let me also indicate that we have a weekly colloquium which you are invited to attend on Wednesdays, 5 to 6 Central European summertime, if it's summer. And I think in the chat, you'll find all the links where you can, I mean, at the colloquium, we have talks of international guests and collaborators, and you may subscribe to the announcement list. Well, even in a broader I mean, advertisement for our center, if you have any kind of research project on responsibility and sciences, I mean, please contact me. We would be happy to support you. Of course, let's say as at most universities, our funding it's relatively limited, but I mean, we are always available to support research applications in this area for good projects and project questions going or dealing with the topics I mentioned before.